Welcome to week 82 of Ring Talk. Myself, Martin Theobald. Coming shortly will be Steve Goodwin. This week we've got a review of the show from down in Plymouth last Friday, a review from the show in Saturday at York Hall. We've got a preview coming up of the 3 English titles and 1 Southern area from York Hall this Saturday. We're going to have my weekly rant. We're going to have Billy Stanbury coming on as our one to watch. The weekly Trevorism with a new jingle. Quickfire quiz with Linus Udofia, who you saw being interviewed last week. A betting zone that Steve's going to give us some more insight into the world of gambling. And then finally we're going to finish it off with a Q&A. So stick with it all and you get all of that. And Steve's here. How are you?
All good to go, yeah. Busy week last week. 2 days of boxing. The boxing awards on Sunday. I was delighted that we got promoter of the year for the 2nd year running. So
it's great, isn't it?
Great, not just for me, but for the whole team. So that for 2 years we've had that award, so that's a real honour. So we were delighted with that.
That's your fighters getting fight of the year?
Yeah, Waddy and Danny, and they gave 2 nice speeches, didn't they? And they're 2 really good guys.
Yeah.
Both were 100% loyal. 100% decent, 100% respectful in their dealings for the whole career, and there's not that many you can say that about, is there?
Yeah, and Waddy was very quick to thank you for it as well.
It was nice, it was lovely, it was really nice, and it's when you get both boxers who have fought each other saying what they said that makes it feel really worthwhile, and it helps for the bits where people don't behave that well, you know. So. Yeah, so it was really good day. But
who wouldn't behave that well, eh?
Yeah, exactly. Give you some names.
Me. Plymouth. Let's go back to Plymouth Friday night. Long journey for you lot.
Yeah, I mean it was the first time we've done a show there, and we're going back on the 10th of April. So hopefully you might be able to get down there for the next one. Because it's a really great place to do boxing.
The place looks beautiful.
Really
like the Guildhall, the photos from inside of it look really
outside,
nice.
There's lots of good places there. I mean, if we didn't, we'd have gone out afterwards if we didn't have to go off to London. It was a really good little place. So I'm really looking forward to going back there again. So
and I hear the crowds are fantastic there.
Are they? So, do you know what Robbie said? Robbie Chapman. He said, "I thought I was going to get abused." He said, "I didn't get abused." He said, "Yes, they applauded Brad and cheered Brad, but they didn't abuse. I never got one bit of abuse. They were really respectful to him." But obviously the noise was unbelievable for Brad. Yeah. So we'll start with that fight. A really good performance by Brad Pauls, and I think he showed that any middleweight in the country needs to be very, very, very scared. Robbie was, I would say, after 2.5 rounds, was ahead on the judges' cards, and then Brad landed, and that was the end of the competitiveness of the fight. Robbie fought on, he's a tough man. He got badly hurt at the end of the 3rd, put down in the 4th and stopped in the 7th, but Robbie deserves all the credit. But Brad Pauls is one mean machine.
Yeah.
He's a TV fighter in the waiting. He will be, once he gets on TV, they'll keep him on TV. He's as long as he is electric, exciting and unbelievable. He's got power in both hands, and he deserves that. Robbie will come again. Depends on which route he wants to go, but for Brad it was an exceptional performance, and I think enough that if he chooses that's what he wants to do until TV comes and gets him, until we get it, that he could build up a humongous fan base down that area, and it'll only increase and increase and increase.
Are there bigger venues that you can spread out to down that way?
We struggle for venues, so there is a limit. I think if Brad went, you'd need to go to something with probably treble the capacity or something. So there's no halfway house once you leave there. So I'm not saying that it can't be done, but it would be a big financial gamble to do that. But it's something I'm going to meet up with Brad next week. We're going to talk about it and see what we want to do.
He has dynamite hands, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He can really whack.
Yeah. I mean, we're going back on the 10th. It's not depending on whether Brad fights or not. We're going to build Plymouth boxing anyway. So we're going back on the 10th of April, and if Brad decides that's something he wants to be a part of, then he can. And but if not, we're going back anyway.
So let's talk about the others who will be an integral part of that. Should you?
So Connor Adderway,
when you go back,
Connor Adderway, exceptional.
Yeah.
Exceptional. I mean, he dispatched Jules Phillips very quickly. Jules is retired now.
Which you don't dispatch Jules that quickly.
He just
not without having a certain amount of talent about him.
No, he's quick hands, power. He's only very young. I think he's the star of the future. And I just said to I was speaking to his brother Chris afterwards, And this is really interesting. Going to talk the subject here, but I said to Chris afterwards, I said, I've told him not to be like you, right, which is a...
Chris went out on the road, didn't he?
Do you know what he said? I didn't want to go out on the road. I had one win, and they said, we're not putting another show on for 18 months. He said, I wanted to fight. So nobody was, so I was told to become a journeyman. He said, so I went down that road without even intending to.
Yeah.
It's not really great, is it? So we're not going to allow that to happen to Connor, that's for sure. Delighted with him. Lewis Everson is another super talent. You've got to come see these guys because they're really good. Lewis took on Sergei Mitrosian, who fought Dean Richardson.
Yeah.
Now that is not a debut fight, right? But we got left by, unfortunately, Liam Griffiths pulling out on the week of the fight. And a second one pulled out, and Bryn Wayne pulled out. So we lost 2 fights on the week, so we were desperate. And it was literally, he was the only one available. You'd never put him in with a debut, but he really fought well, and I thought he was exceptional. You know, I can say about, I so enjoyed Plymouth because there's some real good stars down there. Marcus Hodgson had a long time out. He came back and beat Eddie Bjorkland. Marcus will get better as time goes on, but he's been out for a long time, and it was good to see him come back. He hadn't fought for a fair while, so he shook the rust off, and I think he can definitely go up and win a Southern Area title at some point. Konstantin Ursu, the ex-Olympian, European champion, 110 out of 121 amateur wins. He won 39-37. It wouldn't have been as good a performance as Konstantin was hoping himself, but you could see it's there. So, you know, I think you're going to see better and better from him as he starts to show how good and special he can become. Billy Stanbury, we're going to hear from later. He's exceptional. I know his opponent wouldn't have been the toughest in the world, but he smashed him to pieces three times down in the first round. He's like another Brad Pauls on the way. They obviously breed him with granite in the hands. That guy. He's
a middleweight as well, isn't he?
That guy's got power, and he's really exciting to watch. I was delighted with him, and delighted to see Darren Townley continue his winning run. That's 2 on the bounce for Darren, and we need to deliver him a Southern Area title shot one at a time. But it's just so exciting down there, and I'm hoping Harry Armstrong gets out next time. He's got a medical query that's just delayed it again for him, so we're hoping Harry gets out there because I'm really excited to see Harry down in Plymouth as well, and hopefully boxers in Plymouth will see that we're not going to just come go tell you it's 18 months, that we're going to build something down there, and hopefully encourages more boxers from the area to turn professional.
And I know the team are very enthusiastic about the experience of being there, for the venue, the people, as you say, the area.
They were great people to work with, all of them down there. We spoke about them all last week, and it wouldn't have happened without the team down there that works so hard. And you know, hopefully we can all develop together, and we can build bigger shows, bigger venues, and really build. Because Plymouth, you can see they want boxing down there.
Yeah,
they want boxing, and we're going to deliver that for them and start. But we just need any boxer out there that's thinking, watching this. If you're thinking of turning pro, get hold of us or get hold of one of the guys down there, and let's get Plymouth boxing on the move properly.
Alright, so let's go north, 24 hours later, up in
24 hours later, 5.5 hours drive on the Saturday.
Yeah.
I was up with Liam Conway till 2 in the morning on Friday night, having a couple of beers with him, so that was good fun. He's a good guy. And then Saturday we end up rocking up at York Hall, which was, being very fair, a baby show.
Yeah.
Let's look at them. Now we'll start off with Emma Kiani.
The well supported.
The very well supported. The noise was unbelievable. His talent is exceptional. And the future for him is golden. It's a golden future for Emma Kiani. And he fought Jordan Granham, who, as you know, is a very, very good operator.
Yes.
But he got through, and he landed uppercuts, and he was able to get through Jordan's guard at times. And I thought he performed superbly. He's only going to get better, and he's got a great future and he's got great support. So hopefully, with both of those features, we can unlock some very big doors for him. Another boxer I was really impressed with It's Jamie Smith, cruiserweight Jamie Smith.
So you were excited about him because his coach had said that he'd take a co-lead tomorrow, which I appreciate is probably somewhat tongue-in-cheek, but shows the aspiration. And we know some of the names he's been fighting or sparring with, like Mikel Lawal. And
you can see. I mean, look, he's raw. But I was speaking to Andy Gill, his trainer. Great guy. Andy Gill, wonderful person to deal with. He's a real pleasure. And look, in boxing, it's so nice to deal with nice people, and he's just a great person to deal with. So I want to say full respect to Andy Gill, who's also not only a good person but a great trainer. And he just showed against an opponent that again you shouldn't take on your debut, Kalinowski. Kalinowski rocked Nick Parper to his boots, Southern Area champion. He also hurt Mark Little, also hurt Jose Lopez, but he didn't hurt. Jamie Smith was able to, he knew the dangers and kept out of harm's way and won every round. I was really, really impressed. For a debut, it was fantastic. So I think great things are ahead. He's coming out again, Jamie, on the 7th of March. So if you're not, anybody that's going to that show would want to be watching him because he's definitely a cruiserweight champion in the making.
Does everyone have their March dates now? Like those that are fighting? Or?
Just starting. We're just starting to do it. We'll be doing that all next week. Once we get this show out of the way, I'll be ringing every boxer up next week. So it's going to be bang, but I'll be on the phone all week, speaking to everybody, making sure we're sorting out what they want to do next and what type of fight they want next. So by the end of next week, we'll have some dates sorted out, which is great. Lewis Surratt, after Ultimate Boxer, came back and he fought Dwayne Grant. It was a great show. It was a really good fight. Dwayne came and really had a go. Yeah. And it was exactly what Lewis needed, his first 6-rounder. And I was delighted with him. And he's without doubt going to be heading towards a Southern Area title next year.
And he's someone you think is better suited to 6 than 4?
Better suited to 8, better suited to 10. So, delighted with him. And title shot for him for sure next year. Of the rest, Conor Vian, who's managed by Graham Everett. Thanks to Graham for putting him on. Conor's a great guy, really great kid. He performed really well after getting his back in the groove after his loss to Curtis Felix and eliminated for the English.
What was a hard fight?
What was a hard fight? Conor Hollins, who's Adam Martin's lad, he came out and had his second pro contest, and I thought Conor done really well against Calamide. He's a really nice guy as well. It was the first time I've met him. Jake Spring, mate, now that's a name you need to watch for. Right. Jake Spring, you haven't seen him yet?
No. So
let me tell you, Jake Spring, champion in the making. He's had one fight 5 years ago under Miranda Carter, and he hadn't. So he's at Envox for 5 years. He's got the lot.
Young?
25, I think.
Okay, so he'd developed physically over those 5 years anyway.
But he's trained by his dad Gary. And I have no doubt Jake Spring is going to be a champion. And we've got some really good fighters on out that we look after now. And he's definitely another one that's going all the way. Definitely past Southern Area level. But
what weight is he?
Lightweight, super lightweight. I think he'll be lightweight for title. But again, really excited with him. Daniel Mendes, delighted to see him make massive improvements under Brian G. Brian G is a great trainer. People don't know who he is, but he works out of State of Mind Fitness. Brilliant trainer and somebody who's really on the up and coming. A lot of these really good trainers people don't know about yet, but he's really turned Daniel Mendes around. Daniel Mendes was throwing more punches, more accurate than he's been before. He'll come back for Southern Area shot next year, but they're not going to rush him. They're going to build that relationship together for another 1 or 2 before they let him go, and I think that he'll be back in the go.
So when Mendes lost to Nick Parper for the Southern Area, he did have Brian G in his corner that night, didn't he? So they're not total strangers.
But he was only he wasn't allowed. But he was in the corner, not allowed to talk by the trainer. So he might as well not been in the corner.
Right, but they're not total strangers.
He knew him, but he wasn't having any input into his training, into his tactics, into the instructions, nothing. So he may as well not been there. Yeah. He was there to. So this is different, and I think he's going to make great strides. And I think they shouldn't write Daniel Mendes off. The Daniel Mendes that fought Nick Parper was not the Daniel Mendes that fought on Saturday night. Daniel Mendes is a different. That was a very poor performance from Daniel. Whether that was down to Nick Parp or down to Daniel Mendes, time will tell.
Yeah.
But I think he's definitely back in the groove now. Brandon Ball, delighted to see Brandon continue his success. It was a good performance over Stefan Slavchev. Very young Brandon. We spoke about him before. Again, as long as he takes it slowly, he'll make it and be winning titles. Julio Venosi fought Richard Samuels. Julio put on a good performance. He went well. 2 reversals.
Yeah.
Robert Sagba was beaten 39-37 by Rod Douglas. Robert felt he won, but it wasn't Robert's finest hour. Not enough output, not enough punches thrown. I don't know why, what's wrong, but I need to speak to Robert. But it wasn't a performance. It wasn't a robbery. You might have thought you could have argued. Some people might have said, "Oh, I think he nicked it." But it wasn't a robbery under any circumstance. He just didn't throw enough, and I don't know what's happened to him because he used to throw a lot more.
Yeah,
I don't know. I need to see.
He's had the interesting career, isn't he, Robert? I think you mentioned him before in terms of getting that win and then moving on. And again, it's a step back for him, isn't it? That it's
totally. And I just don't know what's going wrong with him. Is it something that I don't know? But I need to talk to him because something isn't right.
Yeah.
And Sangeeta Birdie, it was a shootout at the OK Corral. She won the first round. She won the first round in a shootout and just left herself and got caught in the second. It was a shootout, but in a shootout, somebody's going to get landed. And if you're not going to do it gradually and you're just going to come there and have a war, somebody's going to get clipped, and it's not necessarily the best boxer that wins the fight. And so Sangeeta needs. I've been trying to speak to her today. But we need to go back to the drawing board, ascertain what's gone wrong, what we can do about it. Because that's important. That's my job when something goes wrong. It's easy to pat somebody on the back when they win, but I need to rectify what's gone wrong, how we're going to address it, and how we're going to come forward. So that was.
Nah, don't. Women's boxing needs more shootouts.
No, I don't want to see her lose again. She's a lovely lady.
Nah, she can win the next one.
Yeah, but I want to make sure she wins the next one. So we need to just see. She's better than that, and
make the adjustments.
Just make the necessary adjustments, and I'm sure she can come back with a winning march.
All right. Final thing from Saturday night was a matchroom show. Callum Smith beat John Ryder. We're going to go with that.
No, I'm not going with that. I think it was a close fight. I don't think you could give it to anybody by 3 or 4 rounds. You might do. I think John Ryder won it, in my opinion, by at least 2. But if somebody up in Liverpool had scored it, giving it Smith 1 round, Ryder by 2 rounds, a draw, 1 round hit, you'd have said, "Oh, okay, we think John Ryder won."
You can suck it up.
Those score. But 9 rounds to 3 and 8 rounds to 4, it's just impossible, in my opinion, to score that fight that way.
Yep.
Impossible. I'd love referees to be sat there with a group of boxing fans and then sit there, the 3 people, and explain.
And justify it.
And justify how they scored these rounds. 9-3. John Ryder only won 3 rounds. Are you joking? So, we've covered this before. We discussed it all last week. I think Trevor Padden brought it up in his Trevorism last week as well. And I think that it's something that is ruining the sport of boxing, because you know and I know there was no way John Ryder goes up there and wins by 6 rounds, 4 rounds, and 4 rounds, no matter what he did in that ring. Why is that?
It's disgusting, and I think I'm going to touch on it in my rant later on.
Okay.
But how the sport is allowed to get away with it is disgusting to me, in that it never happens the wrong way round.
That's what I'm saying.
The B side never end up
with a crazy win.
And there's always an A and a B side, irrespective of what anyone says. There's always an A and a B side. It's not an accident that the A side always ends up coming out with such lopsided results.
That doesn't I've got to say, and I want to stress this now, that doesn't tend to happen so much down south.
No, it doesn't actually tend to happen so much off TV.
Correct. And
that's an issue for me, is that you become disenfranchised with what you see on TV, in that it's almost, what's the point in watching when I can predict what the outcome is? Whereas I don't see those.
Do you know what annoyed me though? The actual post-fight interviews. Callum Smith, I'm levels above. What the hell are you talking about? What are you talking about? Joe Gallagher, you're scoring fights because he's done better than he should. No, he didn't. You score fights because John Ryder won the rounds.
Was rocking Smith's head back and forth.
That wasn't because of fun. So there is no way anybody can say he won that 9 rounds to 3. I mean, it's just.
I wouldn't have an argument if you want to put forward an argument saying Callum Smith won. Cool.
Yeah, I
don't agree with it. I think Ryder won, but if you want to say Smith won by a round, cool. Okay, I can take that. The history cards won't reflect how good John Ryder was that night, and that's the sad thing.
And that's the point. And I totally agree with you, because if Smith had won by a close decision, you'd have said, "Oh, I didn't really agree with that." But it's those massive lopsided scorecards that get everybody irate.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
Yeah, it does.
It's not the first time in the last period of time on TV, and it won't be. It won't be the last.
No. Let's move on from that. This weekend. So
what a night!
This Saturday.
You going to be there?
I will be there.
Good man.
Where do we start?
Well, there's an
awful lot to cover. Right,
here's the sheet. You
I will start from the bottom of the paper, not the card necessarily. So we'll start with Dalton Miller against Dwayne Green.
Well, they opened the show at 4 o'clock. Dalton's looking to get a Southern Area shot. Dwayne came last week and gave a cracking fight. I'm expecting the same again. I think that'll be a really good fight.
It's an interesting one in that I know Dalton's taken hard fights over time, and so he's fought like Craig Richards, for instance, and the John McCallum fights, and it's two people with a negative record, which you don't see that often, do you? In a fight. And it's not to say Dalton's a journeyman or anything like that, but
he's won 3 and drawn 1 of his last 5, Dalton. So you've got to remember he's only lost so he's actually building resurgence at a late stage in his career, and he wants that to finish with a Southern Area title fight, not against Brad Pauls. But he wants it to end in the Southern Area title fight, but not Brad Pauls, because we're not going to build him back up, and then because Brad hits far too hard for Dalton.
Jordan Dujon against Paul Cummings.
Jordan's managed by Mickey Amu, who's in New York in 2 weeks' time.
Is Mickey going to be there Saturday?
I think so. And he's got Duke Meek on the 7th and Richard Comey on the 14th. So Jordan Dujon fighting Paul Cummings. I was quite impressed with Jordan in his first 2 fights, so looking forward to seeing him.
All right. Mo Garib against Lee Devine, which was meant to be a different fight, wasn't it?
Yeah, but Mo, I mean, I'm quite excited about Mo. I think he's a really great talent. He's a great personality, great kid. And we've got to build him towards the title next year.
I like him because he says what he thinks. And I've had a disagreement with him before about how his style comes across in the ring. And he's dominated points victories before where he's been in an opportunity that he could have asserted himself more. And I've had that discussion with him.
I think he's changed the way he boxes now.
Yeah, but he argued his case back. Cool, completely understand that. No issue with that at all. And I like that about him.
But he's going to build up to titles now. This will be fight number 7 for him.
Yeah,
he's not far off. Not far off at all.
Taking on Lee Devine.
Yeah, who's having his 3rd pro fight.
Cool. Denis Denikashev,
who I believe is one of our brightest talents.
Yeah, so he drew, didn't he?
He drew with that with Ben Fields, who's won 4 on the bounce since being undefeated fights and fought for an area title.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a bad draw.
Yeah.
And it was at
the time it didn't look great for Denis.
But Denis, if you remember in that fight, he won the first 2.5 rounds and then faded.
Yeah.
That's the only reason he lost, because the pressure that Ben brought for. But again, they don't care. They want to be tested.
Yeah.
And they're taking on Lee Connolly, who's fought everybody and anybody. And so Denis I think he's great, and I can't wait to see him build.
Right, big hitting, bearded Dana Zaxo,
who is 5-0 so far. Dana's another one that's going to win titles. He's improving. He's got one of the best trainers in London in Barry O'Connell, in my opinion, and he's a very, very nice man with a very good backstory.
Yeah.
I love Dana. I think he's just a really, really nice guy. And when he wins titles, there'll be some people wanting to write a little book about him. But I think he can go a long way. He's got very, very limited experience before he turned pro. But I think Dan Azaxo could be a little success story.
He's improving. His trajectory is steep. Tom Ansell take on Carl Turney.
Tom is now having fight number 9. He had the one reversal at the Copper Box against against Chris Adaway. And I think he's learned from that. But we've always got to remember with Tom, he's very talented and very tough, but he hasn't had the resume of all these loads of amateur fights that other people have.
Yeah.
So you can push some other kids earlier. With Tom, it's going to be, we'll work with him and Tony Pill, his trainer, is a really good trainer, and we'll work together to decide when to press the button. But Tom's another one's going to be in good fights.
Cool. Liam Shinkwin taking on Jamie Spate.
Well, Liam's got to be now on the verge of going for titles after this one.
Even after just returning.
Yeah, I mean, maybe this one and one more, and I would then hope Liam can go in. I think he's looking for 50-50 fights as well, and eliminators. We had made a fight with him and ID Hill.
Yeah.
Eliminated, but ID Hill backed out of the fight. So Liam, we're expecting. We need to move him quickly. He's not a spring chicken, but he's not got a lot of miles on the clock in boxing terms. But Liam's a quality operator. So we'll see how the title belts unfold before we press the button. But obviously next year's got to be his year.
All right. Ellis Zorro 7-0 now against Dimitri, and I'm not going to try.
Kalinowski, who last week fought Jamie Smith. He's back again. Ellis Zorro is the fastest improving fighter.
You rate him, didn't you?
On our books, yeah. And we've got really good cruiserweights. I mean, we know a good cruiserweight when we see a cruiserweight.
Yeah.
And Ellis Zorro, he knows he needs more time. Yeah. Again, he only had 3 amateurs before he turned pro, but you wouldn't know that. I think we've got titles beckoning for him, but I don't see him looking for titles. I haven't spoken to him in great detail till the back end of next year, but that's when I would expect to see him going. I think he could argue with him. He's ready for Southern Area now, but I think they want to make really sure.
Yeah.
He's with Mickey Burke down in iBox, good trainer, so it's all ready for him now.
Right, so we're going to move on to, and there's no disrespect to any of the ones we've just spoken about, but now the more 50-50 fights out of the card.
These are all positive record v positive record.
Exactly. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fights of positive record versus positive record, which you just don't get that often in a small hall card. So we'll start off with Daryl Church against Dominic Felix.
Dominic performed really well against
Dwayne Sinclair.
Dominic's managed, it sounds a bit strange, I manage Curtis Felix, but I don't manage Dominic Felix.
Yeah.
You'll have to ask Dominic why that didn't happen. I've got no idea. But he's managed by Errol Johnson in the Midlands. Daryl Church I manage. Daryl's hoping to get back into title mix. Dominic wanted one decent fight. He's got what he wants. Daryl's got what he wants. Should Daryl win this, I'm hoping to move him on towards a title fight or eliminated for a title after this. I think this will be Daryl's, if Daryl does overcome Dominic, which I do expect him to. But if Daryl does win this, then it will be his last 6-rounder before we go in. If Dominic wins, does beat Daryl, then Dominic probably is not far off having one more fight, probably could have a little shot at something.
Yeah, it's a great fight.
But that's not my department because I'm not his manager, so I can't speak on anybody's behalf. But I can speak from Daryl's point of view. If Daryl gets through this fight, then I think Daryl will be heading for titles next year.
All right. This next one's probably my second favourite fight on the card. It's not for the title.
Really?
2 people that I love to watch. Jimani Camaro against Justin Menzie.
Right, I manage both lads, both lovely lads. I pass this one over to you.
Justin's just a little handful. I would describe him like a little buzzsaw. And his last fight, when he got dropped early doors, showed great heart in getting up and then fighting his way through and taking over the second half of a fight when he was probably quite hurt after being dropped. I just find this fight fascinating because Justin's all of 5'4", 5'5", I'd guess. Jimani's touching 6 foot. has all of the natural advantages over Justin. But Justin,
weight, because Justin is naturally the bigger guy.
He's
stocky.
If Justin can get in and rough him up, I don't think you can necessarily put a dent in Khoumari Camiro, because I think he's made of granite and concrete. I don't know how you hurt the man. But I love watching Khoumari fight. He'll walk you down. Justin will walk you down. These two are just going to meet and fight, I think. And they're two lovely blokes as well. So I watch it through my fingers, but it's a hell of a fight.
Do you have a prediction?
Khoumari points.
Okay.
I don't say that with any confidence. I always say that when I make a prediction. There's nothing against either man, because I'm a big fan of both. But I just think his size, height-wise, will, as long as he uses it properly, give him the advantage. We're going to go to a video from Ryan Walker, who's going to be fighting Piotr Merger. Peter Merger?
Peter Merger.
So we're going to hear from Ryan before we talk about it. So here he is, Ryan Walker, who's fighting for the Southern Area Super Bantamweight title Saturday night. Is going to talk us through his side of it now.
Yo, what's good, people? It's Ryan the Lamb Walker. Got a big title fight coming up against an undefeated prospect who's meant to be game. I've sparred him before. It was easy work, but now I just got to do it in front of people and embarrass him in front of all his supporters and all of that. So yeah, but it's going to be a good fight though. I'm expecting a test. He's undefeated, like I said, he's 5-0, so he's going to come and bring it, but it's my time to shine, baby. Strap season. Let's get it.
There you go. Thank you, Ryan, for recording that. So another one is managed by Mickey Amu, so not yours. Peter Merger isn't yours?
No, Peter Merger. I mean, Ryan, I work very closely with Mickey, very closely with all these fighters. So when I work with him with Richard Comey in the UK, I work with him with Duke Meeker in the UK. And I work with him with all his fighters. So I'm the only manager I'm the only promoter, manager that he works with in the UK, and we work very closely. We're really close friends. So, you know, that's what it is. His only loss was when he fought Michael Ramabalats, who I managed to win the English title, and that was a gamble. They threw him in. You know, the point was it was just a no-loss situation, because if he managed to win, it was great for him. If not, he'll come back for the Southern Area. Peter Merger, though, very, very tough fight. I think it's a really, really hard fight. I haven't seen enough of Merger to have an opinion, but Ryan's had 11 fights now. He's got to be fighting for a Southern Area at fight 11. So whoever's there, somebody at 5-0, he's got to do it. You'd similarly say that it's not far off Ramez Mahmood, Jack Budge type fight. Undefeated 5-0 kid, taking on the one that's been built properly in terms of Ryan like Ramez Mahmood. So we've built these fighters for the titles. Peter's trying early, so hopefully once again it's going to be the same as what Ramez did, catch Mr. Merger before he's ready.
So who wins?
I haven't seen enough of...
I don't care, I want to know who wins.
I can't honestly say.
Oh, come on, you normally get out of it on the basis that you manage both lads.
The reason I can't say is I haven't watched any fight of Peter Merger. He was just the guy that was thrown in by the Southern Area. So because I don't manage Ryan, it wasn't something where I've assessed the whole fight. I think that Ryan had to, if he wanted the Southern Area, that was his opponent. That was forced upon him. So I haven't actually bothered to look at Peter Merger. So I think Ryan Walker is very talented. So if you had to hold a gun to my head, I think Ryan's experience will outperform.
That's what I think.
But his experience and the fact he's been in that fight with Ramabalats, the experience of the negatives and the positive will be too much. So I think that putting a 10-1 kid in who's had that experience against a 5-0 kid who's not fought anybody, I would always lean towards the experience.
I would put that down to the mental side as much as the physical.
Yeah.
Right, 3 English title fights that I've left to the end. So we're going to start off the 2 that you manage. Liam Dillon against Youssef Khoumari, English super featherweight title. Again, we've got Youssef Khoumari, who's recorded us a video about this fight that we're going to cut to before we talk about it.
Yeah, Liam Dillon was supposed to be sending one. If by the time this goes out, Liam's is there, we'll play that straight after.
Yeah, he's too busy doing the Boxing Asylum podcast at the weekend, Liam. Have you heard him on that?
No, I haven't heard it yet.
Oh, it's all right.
Listen to it.
It's good. So yeah, we're going to cut now to Youssef, who's going to give us his overview of the fight.
What's happening, people? We're just days away now from the big English title fight at York Hall between me and Liam Dillon. Yeah, training camp's been good. You know, tickets have gone well. The only thing to do now is just weigh in and get down to business on Saturday. So it's going to be a good fight. We're both good undefeated young prospects coming up in the game. And yeah, we're putting it all on the line for the English title on Saturday. So make sure you tune in or stay tuned. It's going to be a great fight.
Thank you to Youssef for sending through that video. 2 undefeated fighters, 10-0, 9-0.
Both have been built to perfection. Liam's won the Southern area. Youssef has been built really well. They're both 2 of the nicest lads you could look after.
Yeah.
They really are, genuinely, and I'm not just saying that, but they really are. It just happened to be, if this was a Southern area, there's not a hope in hell they'd have fought each other. But for an English title, it just makes sense for both, because the winner can go on and probably fight for a British in 12 to 18 months. The loser's going to come again and win an English anyway. So it just makes good sense for both.
It's almost been a case, from the outside looking in, that Youssef has been built and thought of as maybe past Southern area level, whereas Liam has gone through that and earned his stripes going through it, and then they meet at that point one who's probably more battle hardened in Liam, and one who's been groomed for that level in Youssef.
That's exactly as it was. I mean, Liam was, when we started off with Steve Kipps and Liam, Liam was a good amateur, not a great amateur, and he always wanted to win a Southern area title. And that for Liam was what he really wanted to do to start, and then build on that from there. For Youssef and Xavier Miller, the Southern area was always considered by them as a formality to win, and it's English-British they're looking at. So yes, you're spot on, but Liam has got, although you've got to remember that Liam won the Southern area against Dave Birmingham, and Youssef has actually also fought Dave Birmingham.
Yeah.
So they haven't, Youssef hasn't fought, you wouldn't say with Liam he's fought harder people than Youssef on the whole, but what he has had is the experience of fighting for the title the day before weigh-in, the whole shebang of being in that zone. So he has got the advantage there. Youssef is super talented. They're both great kids. They bring different aspects to the boxing. I think it will be fight of the night.
I think there's so much about it that's just a great fight, in that I don't feel like Youssef has been tested particularly through his career, and that's nothing because of, it's not about who he's fought, it's just that those people haven't been able to test his abilities or test his ceiling as yet. Liam, I think, also we haven't seen what he's capable of, but I think we've seen more glimpses of it than what we've seen out of Youssef. But that said, I don't know who wins out of it. I don't know. You're going to end up with Liam trying to walk him down, I suspect, and he's so squat and square, and I can see him trying to get inside and bully Youssef around while Youssef tries to rely more upon a skill set.
Great fight. And for those of you going on Saturday, this is the first title fight, so don't get there too late because you'll miss it, because these title fights are spread through the night.
Yeah. I'm not going to make a prediction on that. It's too close.
No problem.
We're going to move on to the next one. So Echo Esserman is taking on Curtis Felix Jr. for the English welterweight title, so second English title of the night. And Curtis has again prepared us a nice video talking us through how he sees the fight going, how he is. So we're going to go now to Curtis, and then we're going to come back and discuss how we see the fight going.
Kurt the Cat Felix here, primed and ready to face my opponent this Saturday at the York Hall. It's been a hard, it's been a smart camp, and we're ready to bring this title home now. Make sure you got your ticket, make sure you get yourself there nice and early. It's a great night of boxing, some great bouts. I'll see you there.
Thank you, Curtis, and we'll see you Saturday. So, again, 2 undefeated fighters. Echo 12-0, Curtis 10-0. Echo obviously not yours, Curtis's, so I won't ask you for a prediction on it, but it's a big ask for Curtis.
Well, Curtis, we bypassed the southern area because it was all frozen up. We went round, had an eliminator for the English against Colombian. And then we've now got a shot at the English.
And that's a great performance by Curtis in that fight. which, yeah, he was incredible that night.
And now this is a step up again. Echo Esserman is a former GB kid, high level amateur. Curtis has done it the hard way. He's come through the small hall. He's come through literally without all the big amateur pedigree. Come from the small hall scene. Struggled with tickets earlier on. He's got the heart of a lion, Curtis. He's got, again, don't underestimate the trainer he's got. He's got Barry O'Connell, which is a humongous advantage.
Has he moved in with him again this time?
He's moved in with him again. Barry's looking after him. Don't underestimate that team, because I know on paper Echo Esserman is a favourite, and on paper he would be a worthy favourite. If Betfair had put the odds up, which we haven't seen, I think they will have Echo probably at about 3s on, something like that. But don't underestimate Curtis Felix, because he has done things the hard way. Nothing gifted, no GB squad, no nothing. And he's got home advantage at York Hall. He's fought there before. Echo Esserman is the away fighter, and don't ever forget that somebody that's fighting on their home territory in their own environment has an advantage. That's why we won the purse bid, to give Curtis every chance in the world to win this fight.
And he's a hard, tough man, Curtis. Like, skilled, I'm not saying that there's nothing to go with it, but he's got heart and grit and those intangibles that you can't necessarily put down on paper and say what they are. Whereas Echo is probably the more skilled of the two fighters.
They call him the engine because he's relentless. So if you're not careful, Echo Esserman will keep going and going.
But I don't think he can do that to Curtis.
Neither do I.
I think Curtis can match him for that. And then, what a fight!
Great fight. Great fight.
Right, and we'll move on to the final one that I've got on here,
which is the last title fight of the evening.
Linus Udofia taking on Tyler Denny for the English middleweight title. So we heard from Linus last week, so you can go back and find that interview if you haven't seen it. It's his coming of age moment, isn't it?
This is it. This is Linus Udofia's breakthrough fight. I know he's had fights before. We built him to 14-0, but this is his breakout. This is the time when he turns around to everybody and says, "This is who I am. This is where the minimum level is. I'm going to be a British champion, and I'm going to show why I'm going to be British champion on Saturday." And once he gets through Tyler, which I think he will, I think Tyler's a very, very good fighter. I think Linus gets through. We are then hunting down the British, and I think we're going to see Linus Udofia show how good he is going to be.
I think, it's his moment, and I know he said about it last week that it's, he's had these other things, the Taylor Jones saga that went on and on.
It messed up his career for a while.
Yeah, but I think this is his opportunity to put all of that in the past.
And that's what we did. As a manager, what we did is we understand the problem. He took a break from boxing after winning in March. We brought him back. We've managed, and he's been managed perfectly to get to this. And I believe I've done a brilliant. I'm not saying I've done a brilliant job. Nobody could have done any better. And he's now ready at the right time against a fighter who has faltered at the English level before. And I believe Linus Udofia is British level and beyond, and I expect him to show on Saturday.
It's a cracking fight. I can't wait for that one. So that's the 3 English title fights plus the Southern Area fight. All tickets are gone?
Nothing left. Don't come to your call.
Don't turn up. It's over.
It's over.
Wow. Have you ever had a show where every ticket has gone before?
No.
Like completely sold out?
No.
That's mad.
We haven't got one ringside left. Nothing.
So I can't tell you where to get tickets from, because you're not going to get any.
We're giving all this spiel. It's not about trying to sell you tickets, because you can't get them.
Yeah. So there you go. We can't tell you where to get tickets. We will tell you how the results went next week. And we'll talk you through, and you'll hopefully see some of the action, depending upon the footage that's available at the time, etc. Is it your biggest show?
I would say Josh is behind camera. Is it the biggest show, Josh, we've ever done? Or one of the biggest? You said it's the biggest. There you go.
He's humbly nodding. Just a cracker. I'm
looking forward to it. I'm buzzing for it.
Buzzing for it. There's so many good fights. It's crazy. Cool. So, right, we're going to move on to my weekly rant this week, and then we're going to come back after that, and you'll see Billy Stanbury talking after his win over, I can't remember who it was, but in Plymouth last Friday. And then we're going to be back for the Trevorism. So we'll see you soon.
Martin's Weekly Rant.
My weekly rant, I've actually prepared some stuff this week, which makes a change. I put out a tweet earlier in the week about my frustrations of the sport, and it was just to elaborate somewhat within it. I think when you look at the state of boxing within the UK and some of the issues, as a fan, it's easy to get demoralised about the sport. And I think when you look at the bubble that was forming within boxing a couple of years back with Joshua and the stadium fights in the UK, and all that was coming up with it, and as much as there were too many pay-per-view fights, at least we have pay-per-view fighters, and where the sport's at now, it's just, this isn't so much a rant but more a reflection. I think when you look at the numbers of shows that were put on in the UK, in 2016 Matchroom had 22 shows in the UK. In 2019, so 3 years later, I think we're looking at 14, so there's a 40% drop off over that period of time. BT 2017 16 shows, 2019 14 shows. There are other cards that are coming along, the Ultimate Boxer ones are filling some of those spaces, the MTK ones filling the spaces. So it's not all doom and gloom, but the quality control perhaps isn't there as a fan that you're looking for. So it feels like some of the shows are drying up and we're not getting the same quality that we've had before. I think when you look at the PED issue in boxing, it's depressing. I find that a really depressing issue when we're trying to preach about the safety of fighters and we see the likes of Dadashev, Patrick Day, some of the casualties that we've had this year. And then that Saudi Arabia card, for instance, has got 4 fighters that have either failed or had question marks over PED issues. When you look at the judges, and I don't want to use the word corruption, but back in the day you used to corrupt boxing by giving brown envelopes over the table. That doesn't happen, I genuinely believe, these days, but I just think some way judges that have flown in from overseas and given the nicest corporate hospitality packages you could possibly give, are they going to be, the most sitting on the fence kind of fair judges? I'm not convinced. I just think when you look at the money that's apparently going into the sport, $1 billion deal from the zone, PBC saying they got $1 billion deal, where does it trickle down to? As a viewer, the pay-per-view cost has gone up for the Joshua fight. As UK boxing fan, the best stable is kind of disseminated off around the world almost. When you look at it's gone to the US and it's gone to Italy, and you've got fighters in Mexico. The quality of what we get over here therefore naturally goes down. And I think where is the investment? And you can start to see as fans how you become disenfranchised with that level of boxing, which to me is almost, I'm a football fan as well, and my love of the Premier League has got probably less and less over the years as the product is more and more sanitised. I found myself moving away from that into the lower leagues of football and local teams and supporting local teams where you can actually get to know individuals within it. And that's what's happened with boxing, is that to me, and I think there are others that probably share a similar view, you might jump on board for those massive fights, but actually there's a whole raft of stuff in the middle that I've lost a lot of interest in due to the question marks around it. That actually then you've got the lower and the grassroots, the spit and sawdust approach to boxing that is of interest, and where you do have the characters and the personalities that you can get to know and love. When you see Louis Van Pooch picking up an award for his services to the sport, you think brilliant, great for him, and what he does for the sport is fantastic. And I would implore people to get involved in that side of the sport. Come and see shows where you can really invest your time and your effort into the sport, when actually there are a lot of question marks over the other end of it. So that's my rant. Steve, we're back.
Are you ever happy?
I'm always happy.
Apart from when you're ranting?
Yeah, I do go on a rant quite often, but only with, I'd like to think I try and benefit the sport. in some way.
That's fair. That's fair.
Probably don't, but whatever.
Your intentions are good though, aren't they? That's the whole point. So
sometimes. Right, one to watch. Billy Stanbury.
So impressed with him last week in Plymouth.
So what is it? Is it pasties down there? Is that what gives these lads?
These lads have got granite in their hands, and Billy Stanbury is. Do you know something? I saw before the show. I saw his mum and dad, and I saw them. They come and introduce themselves to me, and his mum was like petrified, and I said, "I know his amateur record. Do not be worried about this. Do not be worried." And he went in there, and he absolutely every time he landed, he hurt Martin Cadwell, and it was 3 times down in the first round. It was an absolute demolition, annihilation. And Billy Stanbury is somebody that, and what they said to me, his coach was saying to me by text, he doesn't want to be a local hero. He's not one of these that wants to build up a little record in his hometown and make out he's better than he is. He wants to do, for example, what Brad's done, is get everywhere and become a really, really big name and a big fighter. And he has got the style that people want to come back and see. So I think he's great, and he's going to be a really real top prospect.
All right, awesome. So rather than us talking about him, here's Billy himself, looking quite fresh after fighting Friday. But when you've dropped someone 3 times in a round and got the stoppage, then I guess that's probably how you do look.
Before we do go on, best wishes to his mum and dad as well. Lovely people I saw on Friday.
Awesome. And then straight after Billy, we're going to be back for the Trevorism.
Hello, it's Billy Stanbury here, just to talk about my fight on Friday night, the 22nd at Plymouth Guildhall. My first pro fight, I stopped my opponent in the first round. It was a good performance. I would like to maybe get the 4 rounds in, but you get in there, you get all excited. And I got the job done, threw some big shots and got him out of there in the first round. It was an all-round. It was a great show from all the boys. We all got wins. All the home boys, we all got good wins. Everyone performed really well. They're hoping to do another show there on April the 10th, so that's when I'll next be out. But I'm going to carry on, keep the training up. I've stopped work, so I'm training 3 times a day at the minute, and I'm going to keep it up until, over the next foreseeable future. I don't plan on going back to work at all. I just want to keep training and give it my all over the next few years. Hopefully, aspirations wise, I'd like to at least win a Southern area, maybe in English and maybe in a British title. But I've just got to see where it goes from there really. Like I said, just keep the training up. I'm going to give it my absolute, give it everything, and I'd like to say thank you as well to all my sponsors, Comfort Home Care, Reconfigure, Salt Gymnasia, because without them, literally, I wouldn't be able to keep all the training and that going. Literally, they've supplied me all the kit. What's that? Thanks to Steve Goodwin. He's the man that's put all this together, put on the shows down in Plymouth. If it weren't for him, then the Win Linus would have been possible anyway. I'm looking forward to working with him in the future and getting a lot more wins on my belt. And so it's going to be a good future. I can't wait.
Trevor Padden's Trevorism.
There we go. Thank you to Billy for putting that together, and thank you to our new jingle specialist for putting together the jingle for the Trevorism, which is here. As a spoiler alert, I've actually been given a heads up on this because we just tried to record it and Steve fucks it up through laughing. So let's see if take 2 goes any better.
The problem with Trevor is sometimes he comes up with really good ideas.
Yeah, and sometimes we get this week.
Oh dear. Okay.
Right.
Having ring girls is sexist. For ladies and non-heterosexuals like me, we should have men in hot pants doing alternate rounds. So what he's trying to say when you stop laughing is that if you go to a boxing arena, not everybody is heterosexual. Some people don't really want to see girls.
Not everyone's a man.
Exactly.
To be fair, you get a fair few women turn up.
So on that basis, you should have a ring girl for 1 round and a guy in hot pants in the second round. Like, for example, Trevor doesn't mind which one it is. So tell you about how he is.
Yeah. So no, right. So if we go back who remembers the MC Academy of Matchroom?
Yes.
Now, conveniently, the genesis of that came about when the debate came about of walk-on girls for darts and the girls that do the F1 and walk around with the boards before the F1. Matchroom, while that whole debate was going on, said, oh, look at our MC Academy. And they kind of turned the conversation around to something else entirely, rather than let it focus upon boxing, where it's such a tradition. I'm amazed boxing has never come under more scrutiny for it, given that darts canned it, which is a Matchroom product, given that F1 canned it, so you don't get the girls going on there. I'm amazed boxing hasn't come more under scrutiny for it.
But what do you think about the idea of actually, deadly serious, of having, I know it sounds ridiculous when I'm trying to say it, but of having, for people like Trevor, guys doing it?
For people like Trevor, no, look, I'm not anti-LGBT, any of that stuff. Cool, go ahead and do it. Like, I think there is a risk in such a sport that is perceived to be a macho entity that you maybe don't want to be going down that route. But whatever floats boats.
I mean, he does have some look, Trevor comes up with some novel ideas, and they're all sort of, there's some logic in them somewhere. And Jeddy says, I know I find it ridiculous, but at times, but
there is some logic. I can understand the argument that says can ring girls because that's sexist. I don't necessarily go along with it, but I can understand the argument.
But he's not saying.
But to take it to the other nth degree of the spectrum and say bring men in instead or as well, I'm not going to personally jump on board that argument, but. You know, whatever Trevor wants to do, it's his section.
If you're York all Saturday and you're in the VIP bar, go and
some hot pants.
Go and debate.
Hand him some hot pants and a card.
Go and debate.
I want to see Trevor do it. Like, you know, if you're gonna be the flag bearer for it, you want to offer yourself up.
Just mad.
Right, that's enough. Right, quickfire quiz with English title challenger Linus Udofia. Here it comes.
So welcome to the quickfire quiz. We've got Luton's boxing expert Linus Udofia with us today, and if we look at the leaderboard now, we'll see that it's not been going too well for people so far. We've just got joint leaders with 2 points. We've got Shocky Khan and Martin Theobald, and then we've got the Dross with only 1 at the bottom underneath. But I'm reliably assured that Linus's boxing knowledge is going to get him to the top of the leaderboard. So when we're ready, if you give us the 60 seconds...
God, that's me, innit? That's right.
We're going to be ready to go.
We are professional. Ready, go.
Who is the current British super welterweight champion?
Cheeseman.
Scott Fitzgerald. How many fights did Graham Earl lose in his career?
2.
6. How many world title fights did Frank Bruno participate in?
4.
5. Newtonian Michael Devine won 2 titles. What were they?
Southern area and...
Weight?
Lightweight and super lightweight.
No, it was super featherweight and lightweight. Name 4 current Southern area champions.
Why did he come out here won all of them, me?
No, he's not
won
champion
about
anymore.
20 times.
No, just current.
Current.
Your mate's
Dean
featherweight.
Richardson, Brad Pauls. What's that fucking... The one that's got massive legs is dressed by Josh Burnham. Pass, next one.
Is that it?
Linus, you didn't even get 1.
Linus has scored 0. The southern areas were Nick Parper, Dan Aziz, Zach Shelley, Brad Pauls, Dean Richardson, Shaquille Day, Daniel Igbanuki, Alfie Price, Danny Carr, Ramez Mahmood, Winters, and Ricky Little.
Did he have to get all of them?
I knew all
We got
those
2.
people as well.
You would do. It's under pressure. So Ramez Mahmood, who thinks this is easy, come here and be under pressure for a minute. It's not easy. So Linus now, at least he has achieved going 1 part of the leaderboard. He's bottom, but I'm sure that some of his stablemates will have another go. Linus, thanks for that, mate.
So there was Linus still not taking me off the top of the table. Despite
Well, you're not top of the table.
No. There's no VAR in a quiz. I'm not having this.
I was the VAR in the editing studio, and I awarded the extra half point.
This is bullshit.
But next week you've got boxing writer John Briggs coming, a man of knowledge who says that beating your score is an absolute formality.
Right, I know John. I've met John various times. I know
but he doesn't think you're that bright in your knowledge of boxing, and he said
there's not limited just to the knowledge of boxing either. There's plenty of things. No, I know John, so I'm sure he will do well.
He's on next week.
Good luck to him. The betting zone. So we were hoping that we would get the odds up for this Saturday night.
And that's a shame, because
we
would have pinpoints and bets there.
Are they still going to run the odds?
Well, they've said they will, but whether they do or don't...
you don't have any say over it,
I don't really know, but that's what they've said, so we'll have to keep an eye on it. Maybe we'll put out a quick separate YouTube video on Friday if they do. Maybe I'll put something up.
Yeah.
We'll keep an eye out for that in case we do it. We were running with a bet until last night this week.
Yeah.
I think there's an absolute stone bonking certainty this weekend.
When you said the market shifted on it, is that because you went and lumped on?
I haven't done it. I was going to lump on. We were going to lump on because I said to Josh yesterday, when we said we saw the odds, I said, we're thinking of going to the Khoumari fight. I said, look, this fight pays for the trip to America.
You're that certain?
Yeah.
So which fight was it?
Lerone Richards to beat Lennox Clark.
Yeah.
I think it's an absolute gimme.
It was 1-4.
1-4 was... Shut the money out. I think at 1-4, I will happily put a bet up. It's now 1-6. He still wins.
Yeah.
But the point was, there's got to be a point upon which
the risk becomes.
Well, no, I can't be telling people to be putting things on 1-6. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But Lerone Richards is just, in my opinion, levels and levels and levels above.
I'd like to see him put his foot down a bit.
But he probably won't put his foot down.
No.
But he'll win. And the key to betting is not whether he puts his foot down, it's whether he wins. And 1-4 was exceptional. 1-6 is still value. But I'm not going to officially put it up as a bet. But that was going to be the bet. The other betting error that was there, that I'm not saying we would have run with a bet on, was they had Akeem Ennis-Brown at 4-6 to beat Philip Bowes. And I thought at 4-6 that was representing some semblance of value. I wasn't sure. I was definitely running with a bet on it. But it's now 2-5, and that doesn't represent value anymore. So there were two considerations, but both odds have moved. But Lerone Richards was definitely going to be a massive bet.
I would say, from what you've said before about finding the advantage over the bookie, that the Bowes fight doesn't stand out to me. Those odds, even the initial ones that you say, don't. I see that as quite a 50-50 fight anyway.
I think he's got. I think you've got a situation. There's things about Philip Bowes. You know, beating Tom Farrell doesn't mean anything to me.
No.
It doesn't count. He won the Commonwealth title against an African import. Doesn't count. He's done well, but we haven't. You know, he fought Joe Hughes, got beat. He fought Johnny Coyle, got beat. I just thought, my opinion was, I think Akeem Ennis-Brown is a more accomplished fighter.
I would agree.
And I think 4-6 is verging on value. I didn't say it was value, but 2-5 isn't anymore.
Yeah.
So it was just but the edge on that fight was like that. The edge on Lerone Richards at 1-4 was
I agree.
Was like that. So the edge was humongous. Richards is an hour-long job. The Philip Bowes fight was whether there was a semblance of value in those odds. That was all that was about.
Yeah.
But you know, that's how it is. But yeah, so unfortunately we were going with a bet this week. If you still want to back Lerone Richards, and you don't mind backing a short one, then that's entirely up to you. I think barring a disaster, he wins.
All right, we're going to move on to the Q&A. So I saved these up from last week. So we're going to start off with Heavens Above on Twitter, who says, Ricky Heavens, who was your fighter, has just announced he's taking a break from boxing, mainly due to financial reasons. Could Steve please explain the type of costs that a young boxer has to face, medicals, licenses, etc.?
I think the medical... It's not financial reasons surrounding boxing, it's financial reasons surrounding his personal life. So I want to stress, so we don't say that it doesn't come across that boxing's cause of financial. Yeah. It's nothing to do with boxing, it's just the fact he needs more money. He needs
a more stable income.
Correct, no, that's the point.
With a family on the way.
Yeah, I mean, boxers, it's very difficult. When boxers come to see me at the start, if you've got a boxer that's starting on the small hall scene, and is not going to be a superstar and doesn't really sell tickets, you've got to question why they do it, because there's not enough money in it for them. If you have got talent and you shift tickets, you can, if your manager and the promoter, people you work with are very fair to you, you can earn good levels of money. I've had boxers doing 4 rounds of boxing, earning between £7,000 and £10,000 before.
Yeah.
That does not include our Albanian ticket man. We're talking about they're just normal 4-round lads. So if you shift tickets, you can earn big money. If you don't sell tickets, you can be fighting virtually nothing, and therefore you might be subsidising it with your own money, the training, the travelling, the trainers' fees. So you've got to question. It's very, very difficult because you don't. You just don't earn anything on stage. And the second question is, even if you are relatively talented and you don't shift tickets, when you go to the level when you're going in, when the big promoters look at you and you haven't got a fan base, they're not going to be interested. Not really interested now anyway.
Yeah, unless you're an exceptional talent.
You've got to be beyond exceptional for that. You've got to be they've got to look at you and think this kid is way above British level.
Yeah.
Then they'll take a flyer and invest. But if you're not, your English level, maybe getting to British level, they'll just take you on for that one fight and see if you stand your ground. So you're not going to get that. So you've got to turn around and say it's so important. But if you don't shift tickets, it really is a question of saying maybe it's better to do something else with your life.
All right, William Joyce, do you think the British Boxing Board are too strict on boxers with criminal records looking to get back into the ring? In the USA it's not a problem, but boxers are getting forced to go down the Bieber route in this country, and it's not fair in some cases.
Yes, it is my one. I think the Boxing Board do 99% of good things. This is one area where I persistently feel they've got it wrong. I'll give an example of Tommy Jacobs.
Yeah.
Tommy Jacobs, lovely kid from Essex. I don't want to go through this thing, but he's not totally clear, but won't be for a number of years.
Yeah.
He wanted to get a British board licence, but basically, according to their rules, even though he's living a normal life, trying to earn a living, trying to get his life on track after having served a sentence, he can't get a boxing licence until past the time when he won't be any use, he won't be any good anymore. You know, he's past his best years. If you've got somebody who's come out of prison and they've got a talent in boxing, you're saying to this person who has been a criminal in the past, we are not going to let you fulfil your dreams of being a boxer. The biggest risk for that is that person goes back to criminal activity. I know another example of this happening, of a guy that was involved in drugs, tried to become a professional boxer, and his licence was turned down. He was so frustrated, he went back to becoming a drug dealer. Now, if he'd been given his professional boxing licence, I don't believe that kid would have gone back to being a drug dealer.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, prison is meant to be about rehabilitation and getting yourself back into society.
So if you're still on a suspended or you're on tag, you can't get your licence. I don't agree. At the end of the day, I don't have to agree with everything the board do. I think it's probably the one area where I find it awful. I have a real problem with it because you're just not letting people come. That guy can go and become a painter decorator. He can go and get a job, but he can't be a boxer.
Yeah. No, I agree. Paul Altai on Twitter, if there was one piece of advice that he could give himself just starting out in boxing, what would it be?
Don't do
it. Done. Simple.
Deadly serious, yeah.
Azza, first of all, cracking show on the 30th, one of the best small hall shows I've seen. Don't try and get tickets, too late. Notice you don't have a December show, so will you be getting any of your charges out on the York Hall Next Gen or Copper Box Dubois shows?
No, because we did try and get somebody on the Copper Box Dubois show, but the Frank Warren team have got enough trouble fulfilling dates for their own. They've got too many fighters and they can't give them the dates.
Yep.
So they're literally, there's no dates available outside the Warren stable at the moment. So they've got to look after the ones they've signed first. So we couldn't get anybody on there.
I don't know if you want to say that strong, but I'm not sure what's the right thing to say.
Okay, do a question again.
Shit, I've just deleted it.
But do you think
who was it from?
If you haven't got December show, Azza.
Azza.
Go again.
Right, question from Azza, who says, first of all, the November 30th show is the best small hall show I've seen. But don't try and get tickets, it's too late. But he's asking about, with no shows on for yourselves in December, would you try and get any of your fighters out on the Next Gen show at York Hall or the Dubois show?
We did look at trying to get somebody on the Frank Warren show on the 21st, but they've got so many of their fighters wanting to box at the moment, they haven't got room for outside fighters. That's why they've sent Alfie Warren, which is Frank's cousin, to run a show with Mo Pryor on the 14th of December to deal with some overflows. Because they can't get theirs on their own show, so these guys are having to go onto the 14th, a normal show at York Hall. So there's no opportunities there. And Matchroom, really, the only time you get fighters on Matchroom shows, unless if they're on titles, is if they are in big arenas and they need people to.
And it's beneficial to them.
And it's beneficial to them. So unless they sign you, they're not going to have you on these shows.
Which makes a lot of sense.
And at York Hall, they probably don't need to. They don't need to put bums on seats.
Yeah. As cynical as it is, it makes sense.
That's the reality of this business model.
Yeah.
I'm afraid.
Tim Brown, who won tickets to your show last weekend. First of all, it's a bit late, but thank you for the tickets. Knowing what you know now, what would you do differently as a manager and promoter? Which we kind of just asked a minute ago, but
The problem you have, and then joking aside, is boxing is a sport that grabs you. Well, you know this from your own personal views of how you feel about boxing at the moment. It's a sport that drags you in, but the further you get in, the more disappointed you get with it. In other words, from the outside you think, oh my God, it'd be amazing to be closely involved. But the closer you get involved, you have to deal with things and see things that in your normal world, it doesn't make you happy. And life is about giving you happiness. And you have to balance up the happiness of being involved in boxing and the things, and whether it brings you more happiness than sadness. And often in boxing, you do get these happy times, but you get a lot more sad times.
Yeah.
So I don't do it for money, but I've still got the hook by boxing. But the time that the sadness and the things bad that happen, you know, things that even some of this week's happened. When that becomes over, you stop doing it. So I think that the question is probably to not take things personally when people behave badly. I've learned to do that now pretty much, but I'd struggled with that in previous times. So that would really be the thing that I would say that
to disassociate yourself from the personal.
Well, you can't sometimes, but accept that. Teach yourself that people are going to shit on you, right? And accept they're going to shit on you. And if they don't shit on you, then say to yourself, this guy's Wadi Camacho, friend for life, right? Danny Cousins, friend for life. They didn't ever shit on me. They were just good people.
But it's a good job you have those two examples, because if not, and you sat and laid all of that out bare for me, and you said, you don't do it for the money, you don't need the money, and throughout all of it, people are going to shit on you, then I would genuinely question your sanity in ever doing it.
It's just full of scummy scumbags who don't have any principles in life, don't have any honour, don't have any loyalty, and when you turn your back on them, they're going to stab you in the back. That's the problem with boxing that we don't see when we're fans. Because remember, I was just a boxing fan like you was, and you know what happens to me because I tell you. See, I'm not lying, am I? And it is very difficult. So,
biggest myth in boxing is this concept of the boxing family.
I agree.
The sport may come together in moments of tragedy, but for 364 days of the year, would be happy to try and fuck each other over.
I agree.
I genuinely feel that. The concept of the boxing family, yes, there are some great people, there are some great amateurs, there are people that do it for the love of the sport, and probably that's where, in hindsight, that's where the passion should be invested in. Where there's no money involved, there can't be any of that stabbing in the back necessarily.
Maybe my thing would be that I'd be happier doing an amateur boxing club and setting one up and being part of that. Maybe that's something that it's something I will end up doing. I could see that
helping guide youngsters through.
Yeah, and because.
Let's do that.
I can't explain because I can't explain. If I told everybody the things that happen. Yeah. If I wrote a book on this, you probably wouldn't believe it.
If you put it all on paper and said judge it, you'd think is lunacy.
Yeah.
To be involved.
Yeah.
Genuinely.
Yeah.
Cool. Right, on that dour note.
On that dour note, what a night I've got on Saturday, and I'm looking forward to it.
But Saturday is one of the reasons why you're involved, because you can be proud of what you've put on, and you can be proud of the opportunities that you've made for those young men to reach their dreams, and you can be proud of the fact that management that you've done, the doors you've unlocked.
And Josh is promoting Saturday, so full credit to the man behind the camera as well. So, because at the end of the day, that's what, Josh has worked really hard on that show to make that great, and we've been able to unearth opportunities for our fighters on that show. So it's a team effort. I said when I've got my award on Sunday, I often get all the credit, but it's not. While I'm the figurehead of the credit, and obviously get the crap when it's the crap as well. It's a team effort, and there's a lot of people that do a hell of a lot of good things, including Kevin, as you know, who he's the right hand man and makes sure everything runs like clockwork. That sometimes he does get the credit sometimes, but sometimes I get all the credit when maybe I shouldn't.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think it's a group effort.
Yeah.
Right, wonderful. For those that are going Saturday, doors are
3:15.
3:15. First fight 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock.
And then the title fights are spread through the evening, and then we'll be back next week with a review of it.